Here it is, my beaded square. See the edges? I made them in a loop stitch. You can see it like that. I like to use fire line quite a bit when I do my beading. It's fishing line and it's pretty strong. It's not gonna fail you. It doesn't have the drape that regular, say a cotton or maybe like this wildfire. It's more of a beading thread, but it's also very strong too. Most of them are clear or white or black. If you don't like that choice, you can always use a heavyweight thread, but then it's cotton and it might over time wear a little faster, especially if you're using beads that are a bit inferior. They might have a sharp edge and cut your thread. Sometimes it's worth getting the good beads. They're not that much more, and it depends on your project. They're either really short or tall. You get a lot of those little things in there. The holes may be inconsistent. If you're doing something that consistency is important, get your Japanese seed beads. Those are about the best, in my opinion. Now, I also did this little loop stitch on this piece. See? You can see that nice. It's all black with a little green focal that matches the felting project I was doing. So on my triangle, I thought I'd show you a couple alterations you can try. This one has a little bit of fringe. Next one, just a single focal. Put a teardrop in the middle of that. Because some beads have a little dimple on either side, it's nice to put a smaller bead to kind of fill that gap so the thing's not flying around. I always like to put something at the base on either end, kind of anchors the piece, with a focal in the center and a party in the middle. So you can either do a variety like I did in this one, or just keep them all the same like I did in that sample there. Now this one I did the same thing as the first, except it's got a longer piece of fringe on the end, and that I can show you as well. And then I finished it with just some tiny loops. And what that is, if you keep your stitching right on the very edge, and I tend to catch the very tip of the warp, and it holds it much better. I want it grabbed just the yarn, it might pull out a little bit. You can get a nice little detail that is nice and flat. It stays right on the edge. These pieces I usually go up from the bottom and out through the top. So there is a bit of overlap. You can see it adds some height to the piece, but if you want it really flat, you can do that. It makes for a nice edging on a lot of things. The bead needle I like to use when I'm beading on the fabric is really like a regular needle. It's got a point on the end. Other than that, I really like the big eye needles. These are nice, but they have a very blunt tip. See, it's got a huge eye. And when you thread your fire line in there, let me show you. Put it in, and you push it down to the end, and you start working, and you're beating that. This is not going to come out. Okay? On a regular needle, it will. I had to lift it out of the crack there. Otherwise, it locks it in quite nicely. So depending on what you're doing, if you're just doing bead after bead after bead after bead, and you're not really penetrating a fiber, that's the way to go. If you want to get real crazy with little tiny beads, you can get these little tiny needles that you can barely see the hole in. They're rather expensive, but if you're doing a lot of beading, these don't break. So, you know, there's no free lunch, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see, so if you want to do this, so like I said, in the bottom, out through the top, so you can just gather up. I'll just do 5, like a fiesta. Woohoo! Those are pretty colors with the yellow. I like that. And then keep it right into the end. Measure how long that is, and that will kind of determine your length of your stitch. You know, depending on how close you put this together. See? If you want to lock it in really well, sometimes I go under and up a second time. And that takes care of that. I hope you could see it. So if you want to do one that has a fringe, say this would be a fun combination too. Say you do a loop and then a piece of fringe and back up and then another loop. I mean, the patterns are, of course, absolutely endless. And if you're going to do long fringe, get yourself a longer needle, because this is kind of a pain in the neck because you can't really go through and pick up the whole thing all at once. So whatever you want for your fringe, it's up to you. And if you're anything like me, you know, this isn't your first rodeo, you know what I'm saying? You probably have whole bunches of crafting stuff kicking around here and there because like one time you did this and another time you did that. Yeah, that's what I do. So that's all threaded on. Now you have to have an anchor. In this case it was that leaf bead. I did not make this. I bought it. You have everything on the thread, skip the anchor and go back through everything else. And because I have a short needle, it's a little fidgety. And then yeah. I think there's 2 more. Okay. So did you see what I did there? All the way down to the end, around the leaf, back through everything else. And then you can hold the leaf, kind of pull it, tighten it up, and then go on stitching any way you want. That's my new motto. Whatever you want. You know what? It works. Keeps everybody happy. There we go. So there's that. So you can do those in the corners like I did, or you can put them all the way around. You know, how enthusiastic do you want to get? That's up to you. So there's a few little ideas for you. Now, I'm going to show you something else. There she is. I want you to meet my friend Mildred. She was a beading project I worked on a couple years ago, and I wore this in a glass fashion show at Corning, New York at the Glass Museum. She was my Indian warrior princess, so I made her whole jacket. All the beaded fringe all the way down. And the piece of glass is like a big belt buckle, and the fringe came all the way down. And then I did this nice decorated seam up the front. All the sleeves, isn't that pretty? This jacket weighs a ton, I can only tell you. And then I went ahead and made this skirt. It's really cute, a suede skirt. See up the sides? It lashes up the sides, so let me see if I can turn her around a little bit. It overlaps, so it was very sexy walking down the aisle. And then I use this little scoop from the jacket to accent the front. How pretty is that, right? So the jacket looks like it goes with the skirt. And then of course, oh, there's the clock, hang on. Here's the boots. I did the same thing. I bought these at Salvation Army. And the boots, I did the same little crescent in the front and beaded them all up. Natalie will like these. I should give them to her. Sprayed them with glitter. Here, I'll show you the heels. Look at that. How's that, huh? This actually made it on the cover of the newspaper. Some photographer took a picture of the runway, and I had a model. I didn't attend this event, and it was really nice. I was really happy to see that. Let's see. Oh, so you probably want to see the beading on the back. Of course you do. I mean, I wouldn't lie. This is awesome. Okay, a little bit here. I thought she looked a little military like that. I don't know. And then I did the cabochons on the back. Now these things weigh a ton. And then you do the, it's like a faux peyote stitch. Peyote. Anyway, there's that on the back with, of course, tassels. You might have noticed I have a thing about tassels. And then, oh, poor Mildred. She has no bum. Poor thing. A little bit something to hang. It looks better on a person. And then, of course, the back of the jacket, back of the skirt, and back of the boots. Now you may ask, how on earth do those boots stay up? Well, I made a garter belt. Look at, can you see that? So you have to wear this garter belt to hold the boots up because they're so heavy with all the beads, they kept falling off. So that's Mildred. Thought you might like to meet her. So yeah, when I do something, sometimes I serial kill it. I can't just, you know, make a necklace. I have to make the whole thing. So there you go. I hope you have fun beading, and when you do something, please let Mildred and I know. We'd love to see what you make. Bye.